your album is Greetings from Suffocate City, and you've got a song, Suffocate City. So I wanted to start by asking if you could create your own city, what would you like it to be like?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I think that's kind of the idea with Suffocate City, right? Is that we kind of get to do things our way. So I want to have a space, for everyone, and it's kind of like almost like a purgatory for like life after death. In a place for everyone to just finally like get along, and enjoy everything that they enjoyed in life but for the rest of eternity.
You said that Suffocate City speaks to our listeners' sense of fear, the fear of being stuck in a dead end job, a dead end relationship, or a dead end financial situation. So, do you think the thought of suffocating and the repetitive welcome to Suffocate City, does it actually, do you think it inspires people to make a change and to get out and do something so they're not suffocating?
Yeah, it's wild because getting to play these songs live and getting to kind of do this, it's been cool because we have people come up every single night and just be like, "Your song inspired me to leave my." I mean, this literally the other day happened to me. This guy came up and he was like, "I just got out of a like 10-year long relationship, and your song has been, you know, the driving force behind that. I was just stuck in this with a relationship with someone that I just didn't like, or that we didn't get along, and she was just suffocating me, and it just was not healthy, and that's your song kind of spoke to me in that way. So it's cool. It's cool to see it like in real life.
Why do you think people get into relationships and then work out that they don't get on anymore, or they discover traits about the other person? Do you think that's just life?
I think it is. I think, I myself have been in a lot of long-term relationships, and I think a lot of times you kind of get blinded right when you find someone that you love or that you like, and you look past a lot of the things that maybe in long term you should have looked at and should have been like, oh, okay, like maybe I should have asked that question beforehand, or maybe I shouldn't have ignored it the way that I did.
Do you think people get into relationships too quickly then? Do you think you should get to know people a bit more first?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think it should be more gradual and be more organic. I think a lot of people have the fear of missing out, right? I think they also have the fear of like never finding someone else. And so I think having having been there, done that so many times, I think it just um, you know, helps with making it all come together, where, you could have taken the time to really get to know someone instead of like rushing really important things.
So in Alien, you sing, they say to be myself now, but they really don't want me to. They'd rather me be like you. How important is it to be yourself rather than to be like someone else?
Oh, well, I think that is like the key thing to our band is, you have to be yourself, like I don't, I think as soon as we as a band decided to just be us, which was about maybe 3 years ago, we decided, you know what, we're just going to be us. This is who we are. It started working for us. And I think that means in everyday life, the more that you're just you, the more you will find people that are just like you or that will understand you, or maybe a job or whatever it is, that you've always wanted to do. But as soon as you do that thing, it's finally, you can finally be free and be happy.
Do you think people into rock music are different to other people?
I think so. I think it's one of those things that like I think it all depends on kind of how you grew up, right? So like I know a lot of people, especially like my age and stuff, like we grew up with the emo culture, right? And I think we were told that it was okay to feel a certain way, that it was okay not to be okay and all these things. And I think that's so important. and I think rock music especially had that message first, you know. Um, we had the quote emo, culture, and that was so important to my life and so many of my friends' lives, so carrying that forward, that's something that we really have looked at and want to kind of keep carrying that torch.
So you also sing "Where Do I Belong? This is not my home" because I feel like an alien. And obviously you spoke about when you first discovered rock music and you finally found a place in the local rock scene or music scene. Tell me about when you discovered that local rock scene. How old were you and how did you discover it?
I was pretty young. I was 14, I think I was. So I remember I was on the internet. I had a MySpace and I was looking for music that, it was so centered around music, MySpace was, and it was one of those moments of just being like, okay, like let's let's go let's go to a show finally. I remember discovering this one band and they were coming to it's in Marietta, Georgia. I was like, wait, I live in Marietta, Georgia. That means there's a venue here. I looked up the venue. I begged my mom to go. She sat in the parking lot with and me and my best friend. We went to our first like show and there was like 15 people there and we had the time of our lives. I didn't even know stuff like that existed really. Before that, I maybe had been to maybe two or three shows that were like bigger, but nothing crazy, And so finally, I dove in, and that night, I was like, I went up to the person working the door, and I said, what is this, kind of, and I got, told the whole story of it, and next thing I know, I was working at this venue, being 14 years old, booking my own shows there, running the door, running sound, running security, doing everything I could, being like a 14-year-old. So I was involved in the local scene from 14 to probably I started the funeral portrait. So 14 to, in my early 20s, is really I was booking shows and doing everything I could to, help our scene. So the band's name was called Agnus Dei, I think it was, and they were like metalcore, emo. I don't know, but I discovered them on MySpace, and they said that they were from Atlanta, and they had a show in Marietta, and I went. There was only 15 people there, and it was crazy.
Hmm. So you posted on, I think it was your birthday on 30th of September about deciding your life needed to change. You said, I need to change and I need to love myself. And you said you were going to therapy more, going to the gym and eating better. Tell me more about how that has helped you.
Yeah, I think learning that you need help or learning that again that it's okay to not be okay or that like life can kind of give you limits, and it's what you make out of it. I think that was a big step for me. So, I just didn't feel healthy, right? And I knew that something was wrong, but not just in a body sense, but in a mental sense. And so I wanted to get the help I needed, and it has opened so many incredible doors for me to be like, that's not right to feel a certain way. Let's work on it. Let's get better. Let's love ourselves, even if it don't look quote perfect or whatever, because that doesn't even mean anything. Perfect doesn't exist. So it's one of those things that it's learning that those things are true, and the things that your brain is telling you is not true.
What sort of food did you stop eating or start eating? Because
Oh, yes, I
I
definitely did. So I started doing like low carb. That was like a big thing, and I still do low carb. I still enjoy things here and there now, but during, basically this was around COVID, during lockdown, I just kind of stopped eating things that were bad for me too, and I started going to the gym. I started just really focusing on myself for once, and that was really great. It was a great moment of just being me, and finding me.
I think a lot of people need to love themselves more. So
Yes.
what would you say to other people who might not look after themselves? They might have bad habits or don't like aspects of themselves.
Yeah. I mean, the first step in any recovery or anything else is just finding, you know, yourself, right? Finding what matters most to you. And what it should be is, again, yourself. You got to love yourself before anybody else will love you. Yeah. And that's key. That is key number one is just be you, love yourself, and it will work out.
You've talked about how you were bullied at school and everything you've overcome. And one comment I read from a fan said that her scars reminded her to live and also reminds her that kindness matters. What are your thoughts on kindness and people being kind rather than being cruel?
Yeah, I think, growing up, I had a lot of bullies. I've been tall and big my whole life. And in school, kids, they'll pick on you for anything, but especially the tall kid, right? Or the big kid, or, because I like to sing instead of play, especially, here, sports is a huge deal. Again, where I grew up, sports is a huge deal, and I didn't want to do sports. Sports wasn't my thing, musical theater, singing, acting, even dancing, whatever it was to be on stage was my life. And, I think being able to try and be myself, but being told, no, you can't be, no, you can't be, no, you can't be, no, you can't be, by not just kids, but teachers or whatever it may be, that's the worst part, right? And, I think eventually I kind of got to the point where, I was very lucky. I got involved in the rock music scene. And I think that's why, is because I felt like I could be myself. When I went to local shows or when I started working at shows or whatever it was, I felt like I belonged there. I felt like that's me, that's where I am. And that's the best part about music is you can it kind of gives a voice to the voiceless, and at that time I was voiceless, and now I can carry that voice for those same people.
You have a song called Dark Thoughts. So, what do you suggest to people that have dark thoughts in their mind?
Yeah, so dark thoughts is about having like OCD and kind of the really negative thinking, and it's something that I've struggled with a lot. And basically, you just become obsessed with a certain thought, right? And most of the time, they're very bad, or they're weird, or they're whatever they are, And for me, I think that song is about saying, you know, it's okay to have those thoughts, that you are more than just these thoughts in your brain that are repetitive over and over again.
And you wrote, I can't remember what post it was, but you wrote, "This is why I feel like I'm here. My whole life I've searched for this reason." Tell me about all of that, about the searching for your reason and how it feels to have found it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's about so I think it took me a really long time, right? Like again, this band's been around for 10 years, but I don't feel like I was truly myself the whole 10 years, right? I don't think this band was truly ourselves until very recently, and I think it takes time to find that, to find your center or find your purpose or whatever. And again, I feel like we've done so much, especially over the last few years, and it's so cool to see people come to shows and they want to get your name tattooed on them or whatever it is, right? Like, or our logo or whatever. And it's because it's a special moment to them, and or that we've helped them. And, I think that to me is way more why I'm here or why we're doing this is because we love to see what effect it kind of has on people, right? And because I know that if I didn't have music when I was 14 years old, I wouldn't be here, right? If I didn't find the local music rock scene, if I didn't find Michael Romance, if I didn't find, whatever band it was, Evanescence or, Fall Out Boy or, whatever it was that really got through it when I was 14, I would not be here anymore. And I think every one of our band members kind of feel the same way. And that's why we do this.
Yeah. Tell me about shaking it out and how you came up with that.
Yeah. So it was just one of these moments that I, when during COVID, I was working at a retail job and it was with a lot of younger people that so it was that like hot topic, right? So, and they hire pretty young and a lot of younger people like to work there. And a few of them just kept having issues, because they got stressed out or because someone yelled at them or whatever, right? And so what we would do is we would shake it out and it makes it so that way you have to laugh and have a good time. And so basically you throw your hands in the air, start shaking them, and then I'll count because we do it together. If you do it with multiple people, it's so much more fun. You throw your hands in the air, shake them, and then on the count of three, all the air in your body, try and touch your toes. And that's what it is. And what it does is it just it's a reset button. Makes you just realize it makes you focus on something else besides what's going on. You're having to shake your hands in the air, try and touch your toes, and blow out all your air in your body all at the same time. And that's important to just a nice reset. Sometimes is all you need.
Do you have to do that a lot?
Not so much anymore. I think a good reset for me is just it's hard because we are so busy on tour. Um, it's nice because that's kind of now my therapy. That's kind of my again. I found my purpose is to play shows and meet people and to go to the merch table and meet everyone and spend time with everyone. And having these connections is way more important to me than anything before. So I think it's cool to see. It's just really cool to see that I'm able to do that than shaking it out. But I've done it with some fans, and moments that they, are having a hard time or whatever. And it's great because I think it helps when you can't be at a show or you can't listen to music or whatever, your escape is.
So you inspire quite a few people now, but who has inspired you recently?
Um, so like I think growing up again, it was a lot of music, For me, it was like Gerard Way, like Romance, Amy Lee of Evanescence, like I think those two were huge ones for me. And I think you know, the reason why is because I felt like both of them were truly themselves. I think Amy Lee had such a unique, different voice for rock music. I felt like she had something that no one else had, and I felt the same way for Gerard. I think he was just a weird nerd kid that somehow discovered to be in a rock band. He was a comic book writer and then turned into, a rock star. And that's sometimes how I feel is I was just some nerdy kid in, high school and discovered music, and it took me a lot longer to get here. But now now that I'm here, and I get to meet some of these people and they're inspired by us as a band, it's wild to think about.
So this issue of Black Velvet, well, it's mostly like a free online magazine, but I also get a few limited edition printed copies, and it used to be a printed magazine, and this year it's our 30th anniversary, so
Oh,
we've
wow.
been quite a while going.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I know you're celebrating 10 years of devotion. So
Yeah.
do you think the funeral portrait will celebrate 30 years? And how would you like to celebrate 30 years?
that would be insane. Um, I mean, I hope, we love this. I think every single one of us have been doing this for so long. I don't see it stopping, right? And it's especially now that we're like growing. Even if if we don't become quote, the biggest band in the world, again, that's not why we do this. We do this because we love it and because we kind of have to. As I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I think all these same guys feel the same way. It's like we dread getting a normal job or any of those things. We live, eat, sleep, and breathe this band. That's what we're going to continue to do. Hopefully, like you said, for 20 more years so we can celebrate 30.